Hi, everybody. This is Gabriela of CNA Yoga, and I am here with you today to continue our series on meditation. Also, notice I'm having a little fun wearing my Bert t-shirt. Um, he was one of my favorite Sesame Street characters when I was a kid. I had a Bert piñata and the whole nine yards. So, anyway, he's with us too. So for today's practice, or today's video, I should say, we're going to talk about the 6 points of posture as defined by Pema Chodron in the book How to Meditate. And I'm going to post the link to the book in the comments as well so that you have this. It is a really fantastic resource for as like a primer on meditation, different things to consider. I referenced the book in some of the videos that I am recording for all of you, as well as bringing in other resources as well. So I felt that it's just important to not only talk about, sort of the benefits of meditation, but once we start getting into sort of the nitty gritty, okay, so what do I do? How do I meditate? And so I'm going to share a few different things in different videos, but today we're going to just focus on the 6 points of posture, as I mentioned, as defined by Pema Chodron in her book. So, as I've told you before, I'm not a fan of reinventing the wheel, so I'm not going to read to you, but I am definitely going to reference the book. Um, so Pima talks about a few different things, six to be precise. So she talks about seat, or like how you're sitting. She talks about your hands. She talks about your torso. Um, she references the eyes and the face and the legs. So those are the 6 points of posture. So you're welcome to pick up the book if you'd like, or check it out from the library, borrow it from a friend, and kind of read in more detail. But I'm also going to add my own flair to this. So when you start thinking about how you're going to create your own specific meditation practice that feels good to you, there are some pointers that can be very helpful. So the first one is seat. So how are you going to sit? How are you going to induce the feeling of, okay, I'm here, I'm stable, I'm grounded, I'm ready to begin my meditation practice? Um, so some people definitely need a bolster, and I believe I'm going to make a separate video on props. But I just want to reference that you can have a bolster, you can have a cushion, you can have a pillow, anything that you can put underneath your bottom in order to allow you to feel that sense of stability, foundation, grounding. Another touch point on that is in order to allow your posture to be nice and, let's just say, correct for your body, you can use a prop in order to support you. An example of that is if maybe you don't have a lot of flexibility in sort of this area, and you find that when you sit on the ground and you try to sit cross-legged, your knees end up popping up like this. So when you do that, then if you can put something underneath your bottom, it's naturally going to give you a little bit more space for your knees to kind of drop down a little bit. So you just have to really find a way to find a good, solid base for yourself, foundation, right? Think of building a house. If the foundation is good, then the house is going to be stable on it, right? So that's the first one, seat. The second one is your hands, okay? What do you do with your hands? If you're sitting here, and then you're starting to meditate. If you don't give your hands a specific purpose, then they're gonna kind of feel weird and want to do all different kinds of things. So there's a few different things that you can do. You can place them on your thighs. If you place them palms facing down, it's like inviting an energy of grounding. So maybe you're feeling a little frenetic, and then you just really want to invite some grounding into your meditation practice, palms face down. If you place the palms facing up, it's more of an energy of receiving, maybe like I need a little bit more energy. Think of like when you're asking for something, receiving something, you place your palms up, right? So you can do that. Perhaps you might feel like you want to place your hands on your heart space. Some people like to place one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. Maybe you're feeling inclined to do a prayer mudra, and that's when you bring both hands together, exert a little bit of pressure, and then kind of bring it up towards at the sternum, at the heart center. You may also want to place, excuse me, place your hands in a specific mudra. And a mudra is just a hand position. I'm going to cover one today, and then in a different video, I'll go deeper into specific mudras. So a very common or popular mudra is called Gyan mudra, and Gyan is Gyan, and that means seal of wisdom. So basically, that mudra is where you take your pointer finger and your thumb and you gently press them together. And then the other three fingers are extended, and then you just rest them comfortably somewhere on your knee or your thigh, depending on how long your arms are. You can do the same with the other hand. So then you end up looking like this. Okay? So Gyan Mudra, Seal of Wisdom. It's a very lovely mudra for a meditation practice. Then, another one that I forgot to cover was sometimes you can just put your hands gently in your lap. It's kind of like a resting posture, so that can be a very comfortable one for you. So as you explore sort of your own meditation practice, maybe you want to experiment with different things, or maybe now that you know of a few different ways to place your hands, then you might feel guided in any particular day. Like you go to settle into you got your seat settled in, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I definitely really feel like I want to have my hands palms up or at my heart center, whatever works best for you. The next thing that Pema Chodron talks about is the torso. So I also like the torso, right, is this big chunk of our bodies, and it's the biggest portion of where our spine lives. So a lot of times we don't realize that we go through life kind of like this. Now you can't even see Bert's nose or face. He just looks angry, right? So really what you want to try and practice is just kind of really puffing your chest out and just kind of feeling this emotion of like, I'm tall, I'm present, I'm here, I'm ready to receive. And you also want to be mindful of a few different things, right? You don't want to like overarch your back so that, you're kind of in this position. And you also don't want to like go this way and kind of be super hunched over, because that just doesn't really feel very good. It doesn't feel like a nice position to meditate in, right? So as you work on this or become aware of it, you're just gently going to notice kind of where your spine and torso start to feel kind of elongated, almost as if you had like a rod here and it's kind of supporting you, or maybe if you're resting your back up against a wall. And of course, our spines have a natural curve to them, so the idea that they're going to be perfectly straight is not quite true, even though that might be language that you hear that I've used as well. And I also want to note that everybody's body is different. So what looks correct and feels correct to me may not be exactly correct for you because you have your own body, it has its own story. So as you play around with it, one thing I like to do is just kind of rock my hips forwards and backwards, and eventually you kind of start to settle into this neutral place, this very comfortable place. You also want to be mindful of your shoulders. So sometimes our shoulders are way up here in our ears. You're sitting at the computer all day long and you're typing and you're doing this and you don't realize that your shoulders are practically up higher than the crown of your head. So you just really want to become mindful and become aware of how you can just lower the shoulders down. So now we've got a nice comfortable seat, a solid foundation. We've given our hands something to do. And we've really brought some awareness to the longevity, the length of our spine. So those are the first three. Next, we're moving into the eyes. So this is where I appreciate Pima's perspective, because her perspective is that we should meditate with eyes open so that we can experience the world. We can become kind of like part of what the reality is of what's going on. And it's not my favorite. I'm not going to lie. It is definitely a very different and interesting experience. So I definitely invite you to play around with that and see if it works for you. Some people, it works super well and they love it, and that's the way that they meditate. For other people, it just doesn't work for them, or it doesn't work for them in that moment, and then another time it does. So, you know, But I think it's a really neat perspective. And I believe she says that she kind of explains in the chapter sort of where the background is of each individual perspective of having your eyes closed or having your eyes open. Um, when you have your eyes closed, it can kind of give more of a feeling of like internalness, inside. Um, and like that you want to really go inward and kind of shut everything out. So even if you just practice closing your eyes, you're really going to see how it just kind of shuts the whole world out and brings you inward. The next thing that Pima talks about is your face. So you want to practice kind of relaxing the muscles of the face. She suggests maybe having the mouth a little bit open, just so that you're not tensing the jaw. um, so placing, just doing that just kind of allows some of the tension to release from your face as well. Lastly, your legs. So generally, your legs are going to be comfortably crossed in front of you in more of this like crisscross applesauce position. Perhaps they're a little bit more not directly crossed in front of each other, but one in front of the other. Maybe you even go deeper in more of like a lotus posture where you've got the heel of one side to the opposite hip. These are all very different postures, but the whole point is that it needs to be something that feels really comfortable to you, that's going to allow you to really go deep into meditation. Um, in addition to that, I haven't quite mentioned the concept of sitting in a chair to meditate. For some people, it's just never going to feel good to sit on the ground, no matter how hard you try. So don't fight it. Try sitting in a chair. And so when you sit in a chair, you may not be able to sit cross-legged, but you can definitely focus on having your feet on the ground. And you can still focus on the other 5 points of posture. So to recap, we've got the seat, you've got the hands, you have the torso, you have the eyes, you have the face, and you have the legs. So, as you consider sort of how you're cultivating your individual meditation practice, I invite you to play around with different things in these 6 points of posture and just really start to find something that works really well for you. In the next video, we're going to focus on the breathing aspect. Um, and so we're going to start focusing a little bit more deeply into breathing. We're going to focus in another video on very specific mudras or hand positions to get more information on that. And we're also going to play with some eye positions. So drishti is the name for that. So I look forward to hearing how your practice develops. And thank you so much for being here tonight. Bert and I say bye. See you later.